Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get to the heart of your source material. And today, our mission is tackling this really fundamental question about how organizations last. What if the true measure of success isn't how big or fast you grow, but maybe it's your ability to reproduce leaders, enduring leaders?
That's a powerful way to frame it. And it really forces a rethink, doesn't it? Because we're diving straight into a paradox here. You see these massive organizations, huge numbers, big budgets.
Yeah, the ones that look incredibly successful on the surface.
Exactly. But structurally,
Yeah.
they can be brittle.
Mhm.
So often, they hinge entirely on one charismatic figure.
Yeah.
And the moment that founder leaves or even just stumbles, well, the whole thing can just collapse.
Right.
Our sources argue that's because there's been a failure, a fundamental one, to cultivate leaders who are rooted, who can multiply.
So the immediate takeaway is that we might be measuring success all wrong, using the wrong scoreboard.
Completely.
If we're after resilience, longevity, we need to shift focus to prioritize what the sources call invisible investment.
That invisible work.
Over the stuff that's easy to see, easy to measure,
Yeah.
swapping vanity metrics for, generative ones?
Precisely. Generative metrics. And it's tough, right? Because that invisible investment spending, say 2 hours really coaching one person,
Yeah.
it doesn't show up on the quarterly report in the way your board or donors might expect.
No immediate ROI.
No. It's slow.
Yeah.
It feels slow. But the argument is it's the only real path to sustainability.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's define this countercultural metric right from the start. Modern culture, it seems to idolize speed, visibility, how many chairs filled, how many likes on the sermon clip.
Right, the snapshots.
So what's the alternative measure? What should we actually be aiming for?
The alternative, according to these sources, is generational and reproducible formation.
Generational, okay.
Yeah. The measure isn't just today's snapshot. It's the legacy tomorrow. It's about enduring fruit. We looked at the New Testament basis for this. Jesus talked about fruit that endures. That was his measure. And Paul, his strategy for Timothy was crystal clear. Find faithful people who will teach others also.
Faithful people who teach others.
Right.
So multiplication is built in.
It has to be. The goal is stewardship of the core mission itself, not just, building a brand around one person.
Stewardship versus brand building. That really cuts to the chase. But okay, if we want that kind of generational fruit, we first need to deal with what makes organizations fragile in the first place. The sources are really clear on 4 root causes of what they call founder dependency, things that stop this generational success.
Yeah, you have to diagnose the disease before you can offer the cure, right? The first root cause they point to is the persistence of heroic leadership narratives.
The great person story.
Exactly. When the entire identity, the mission, the vision, it all just orbits this one magnetic personality. Well, the system is basically designed to fail eventually.
And that narrative often gets baked into the structure itself, doesn't it? Which
Right.
I think is the second cause.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That leads straight to the second point, past concentration. Look, early on, it's natural. The most capable person, often the founder, grabs all the critical tasks. They just get it done.
Sure, it makes sense at the start.
But if you don't intentionally actively start distributing those tasks, they just calcify. They stick to that one individual.
Making delegation feel impossible later on creates a bottleneck.
A huge bottleneck. And that structural issue, it gets worse under pressure, external pressure.
Which brings us to the third root cause, speed pressures.
Oh, the tyranny of the urgent. It's fierce, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's hitting funding targets, keeping up momentum, or just, the general impatience in our culture, these demands push leaders to skip the slow, sometimes messy work of developing other people.
Because it feels faster to just do it myself.
Always. It always feels faster in the moment, so you end up choosing immediate result over lasting multiplication, even if you don't mean to.
And the last root cause seems like it prevents everyday people from even getting started. A lack of simple, replicable methods.
Yes. If your training requires a PhD or specialized jargon, or it's just too complex, you've basically shut the door on 90% of the faithful, capable people you should be empowering.
So the methods themselves become a barrier.
They do. If the bar to lead is set way too high, only the professionals can clear it. But if it's too low, you risk losing quality, fidelity. The sweet spot is finding methods that are simple enough for ordinary folks to learn and teach, but robust enough to maintain theological integrity.
Okay, so we've identified the problem areas. The narrative, the structure, the pace, the methods. The big question now is, how do we build the antidote? What systems can actually force this kind of healthy reproduction?
Right. Now we get into the mechanics, the how-to.
Hmm.
Our sources highlight 3 really practical high-impact systems. Think of them as the engine for sustainable reproduction.
Hmm.
MAWL, T4T, and elder plurality.
Okay.
And these aren't just theories on paper, they're field-tested rhythms.
Let's break them down. Start with the apprenticeship rhythm. MAWL, model, assist, watch, leave, launch. How does that work?
Think of MAWL as a way to carefully hand over responsibility. It's a learning cycle. First, you model the task. Maybe it's letting a meeting, teaching a specific concept, whatever. You show how it's done.
Okay, they see it done right.
Then you invite the person you're training to assist you. They take on parts of it with your guidance.
Getting their feet wet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next, you step back and watch them do the whole thing, but you're right there offering real-time coaching, feedback.
Immediate correction or affirmation.
Crucial. And only when they've shown they can handle it competently. Do you leave them to run it solo, or maybe launch them into a new related responsibility?
And the sources say this should happen fast, like 4 8-week cycles.
Yes, the emphasis is on short cycles. Rapid practice, quick feedback loops.
That feels key. It makes formation ongoing, integrated, not just a one-off event.
Right. It's not an annual retreat thing. It's woven into the weekly rhythm.
Okay, how does that connect with the next system, T4T training for trainers?
T4T is what gives this whole thing exponential potential. If MAWL is about one person learning, T4T is how that learning spreads like wildfire.
Exponential. Okay, how?
The core mechanism is super simple, but powerful. Every single training session requires immediate practice where the trainees turn around and teach the material to someone else, maybe a neighbor, a colleague, someone in their small group.
So they're not just receiving information.
No, they have to internalize it enough to teach it, and crucially, you coach them not just on the content, but on how to run the training itself.
You're training the trainer.
Exactly. So you're potentially creating second-generation trainers right there in the room. That's how you button multiplication, not just addition.
Okay, MAWL builds individual skill, T4T scales it up. The third one, elder plurality, sounds different, more structural.
It is. It's the structural safeguard against that founder dependency we talked about.
How does having, say, 2 or 3 leaders instead of one fundamentally change things? Isn't it just sharing the workload?
It's so much more than just sharing workload. It changes the power dynamics completely. It ensures governance is shared by a team, not centered in a solo dynasty. We see this pattern in the early church. Like in Acts 14, they appointed elders, plural, in the churches.
Right, teams, not individuals.
Yes, and this doesn't just distribute the burden. It builds massive resilience into the organization. It diffuses authority, relational, spiritual, decision-making authority.
So if one person burns out or fails morally,
The mission doesn't grind to a halt. The team can carry on. The system is robust. It protects against individual fragility.
I see. So MAWL for the practice loop, T4T for the scaling engine, and plurality for structural resilience. Taken together, these systems kind of, they lower the bar for ordinary people to step into shepherd-like roles.
Exactly. Lower the bar for entry.
But they also raise the floor for theological faithfulness and healthy governance.
Perfectly put. Raise the floor. The whole system is designed for reproduction by everyday, faithful believers, not relying on a few superstars.
Okay, that gives us the structure, the systems, the hands, if you will. But systems need the right material to work with, the seed. This is where I think it gets really interesting. The sources use this great agrarian metaphor. The kingdom is like an orchard, not a corporation. Leaders are cultivated patiently.
Yes, cultivated, not just managed for quarterly results.
So if we're cultivating, what kind of seed are we looking for? Are we swapping charisma for character? And doesn't that maybe hurt visibility or initial growth?
That's the constant tension, isn't it? Scale versus safety, growth versus depth. The research and the biblical sources strongly suggest that for sustainable leadership, character has to come before platform.
Character over charisma.
Yes, charisma might draw the crowd initially, but it's character that guards the flock long term. And the sources distill the essential qualities down into this really practical rubric. F.A.T, faithful, available, and teachable.
F.A.T, okay, let's drill down on those. They sound like practical tests.
They are. F is for faithful. This is about the steady heart. The key idea comes from Luke 16. Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. It's reliability in the small, unseen things.
Like what? What are we looking for?
Consistent attendance, punctuality, following through on tasks that nobody cheers for, finishing the unglamorous jobs. If someone isn't reliable when no one's watching, why would you expect them to be reliable under the pressure of leadership?
That's a tough standard, but it's observable. What about A, available?
A is for available. This is the willing heart. It's about a genuine willingness to reprioritize time and energy for the mission without being guilted or pressured into it.
Like Isaiah saying, here am I, send me.
Exactly that spirit. And this is but availability needs careful testing. It can slide into exploitation if you're not careful. The sources are clear. This requires ethical oversight. You need to confirm there's real family buy-in, make sure their commitment isn't wrecking their marriage or family life.
Okay, so ethical availability. And the last one, T for teachable, sounds absolutely critical.
It's arguably the most vital, the bedrock, the very soil where lasting leadership can actually grow. T is for teachable, the humble heart.
What does that look like in practice?
It looks like someone who is quick to receive correction, not defensive. Someone willing to actually change their practice based on feedback. Someone who even invites critique because they want to grow.
Contrast that with someone who argues about the feedback.
Right. A teachable person asks, how can I do better? An unteachable person argues about whether the feedback is even valid. This trait, teachability, really determines if failure leads to growth or just destruction.
Okay, so we identify people with these F.A.T qualities: faithful, available, teachable. Now we need a way to form them, right? A framework that's more than just skills training.
Definitely. Skills aren't enough. We need holistic formation. This is where the sources bring in the head, heart, and hands framework.
Head, heart, hands. Makes sense. What's in each?
Okay, head is the intellectual theological part, making sure potential leaders really grasp and can articulate the core story, the essential doctrines. For instance, can they clearly explain the big arc of Scripture creation, fall, redemption, restoration? If they can't explain the foundation, they can't build on it.
Got it. So theological clarity. Heart then gets back to the character stuff.
Exactly. Heart is all about spiritual and moral formation, cultivating maturity, integrity, humility. We're looking for evidence of that inner life, things like consistent spiritual disciplines, emotional health, a willingness to confess sin, genuine humility, not just outward conformity.
Real character development. And hands must be the practical skills.
Yep. Hands are the practical ministry competencies. This is where MAWL and T4T come back in, training them how to lead a good discussion, maybe a discovery Bible study, how to offer basic pastoral care, and crucially, how to handle conflict constructively.
Okay, head, heart, hands, comprehensive formation.
And all of this formation work leads up to the point of actual appointment or commissioning, and the standard there is non-negotiable. Above reproach.
Above reproach. That sounds intimidating. Does that mean sinless?
No, not sinless perfection. Nobody hits that bar. It means credible, tested Christian maturity, a life that's generally consistent with their profession of faith. The qualifications listed in places like 1 Timothy 3 are overwhelmingly about character, right? Because legitimate authority in this context has to rest on Christ-like character and proven faithfulness.
Proven faithfulness. That implies testing over time.
It does, which is why the sources strongly advocate for slowing down the whole appointment process.
How slow are we talking?
Instead of rushing someone into leadership or ordination, the ideal is a significant 6 to 18-month apprenticeship, a period of supervised ministry before full installation.
6 to 18 months. That feels like an eternity in today's culture. Why so long?
Because time, pressure, fatigue, they reveal character in ways a short interview process never can. That extended period allows for what the sources call the correction moment to happen naturally, probably multiple times.
The correction moment, what's that?
It's when something inevitably goes wrong. Maybe the apprentice handles a difficult conversation poorly, or a teaching session falls flat. The correction moment is the structured debrief that follows.
How does that debrief work? Is it just criticism?
No, it's structured for learning. You objectively describe what happened, the facts. You name the impact it had. Then, crucially, you ask the apprentice to reflect on their process, their thinking. And together, you agree on a specific, concrete action plan for how they'll handle a similar situation next time.
Ah, so failure becomes formation.
Exactly. Failure is turned into a learning lab, not hidden away as a scandal. And that process, that's how you truly confirm if that teachability is genuine. Can they receive feedback and actually adjust?
This whole process sounds quite intensive, but also very intentional. Do the sources give a starting point? Like, how do you kick this off?
Yes, thankfully. They map out a practical 90-day action plan to get this leadership reproduction engine started.
Okay, 90 days. What happens?
It moves pretty quickly. You start with seed mapping, basically, identifying those potential F.A.T leaders within your context, who shows those initial signs. Then you move to a formal invite and begin apprenticeship. Make the ask, clarify expectations, start the MEWL cycle.
We get them into the system.
Right. And by the end of the 90 days, the goal is deploy and evaluate. Get them into some kind of supervised ministry lab, maybe leading a small group or a particular initiative with ongoing coaching and feedback.
And the outcome isn't just a plan on paper.
No, the goal is tangible. You should have a living reproduction DNA document, your working plan, and at least one new leader actively released into supervised ministry. Real movement.
Okay. So we've gone from the big idea through mechanics of MAWL, T4T, plurality, the F.A.T qualities, head, heart, hands formation. Let's circle back to the scoreboard. If we ditch the vanity metrics, what are we tracking? What does success look like in this model?
We absolutely have to change what we measure and report. Stop focusing solely on crowd size or budget size. Instead, track the number of leaders released. That means people who can now competently lead a core function without constant coaching.
Leaders released.
And track the reproduction ratio. For every existing leader or trainer, how many new leaders did they produce in the last year or quarter?
Measuring the multiplication effect directly.
Precisely. We're prioritizing the capacity of the organization to reproduce leadership over just the momentary size of the crowd, capacity over consumption.
So to wrap this all up, the core reframing from this deep dive seems to be this. Leadership isn't ultimately about building a platform. It's about leaving a legacy.
Well said.
The primary job isn't to carry the whole burden forever, but to intentionally, patiently raise up others who will carry it with you and, crucially, carry it on beyond you.
That's the heart of it, and that central image holds true. The kingdom is an orchard, not a corporation. Real success looks like that perennial harvest season after season of leaders who faithfully reproduce the gospel message and courageously shepherd the people.
Which really reframes the challenge for anyone listening who's in any kind of leadership role, and maybe it leaves you, the listener, with this final thought to wrestle with, drawing from everything we've explored today. What's the ultimate challenge you face? Is it deciding whether to spend your life building something, a church, a ministry, an organization that depends entirely on you, on your gifts, your energy, your presence, or are you willing to make that slower, often invisible investment? To raise up leaders who will shepherd God's people and advance his mission with a resilience and a reach that will ultimately go far beyond anything you could ever achieve alone.